I was never truly prepared for this one thing to happen in my 20s. I knew of it. My parents warned me. Enjoy your time now while you're young. Enjoy your time with your friends. They're not always going to be there. And when I was told this, I thought that they meant not everybody lives forever. I've had a few friends that I've missed dearly that I've, since passed since my younger teenage years. And it's sad to know that they died early, but that's kind of what I thought they were talking about when they said these things about hanging out with them the more and make the most of your times. And but now that I've grown older into my early 20s and mid 20s, I've realized that's not what they were talking about. What they were talking about was that slow, soft drifting apart you do from your friends that you grew up with, from your friends that you thought would, from your friends who your relationships you thought would last forever, the ones you'd never stop talking to, the ones you will always be connected with, the ones that you'll always make time for and to hang out with. It's just not true. It's a fantasy to think that would ever be true. You might have one or two that you keep close and tight, that you might stay close with, but eventually that all kind of drifts apart sometimes. Life happens, and it's sad to think about, but it's just something I just was never prepared for. Romantic breakups, people talk about those, sure, but friendship breakups, but breaking up with your best friends, like the slow fades, the unanswered texts, the energy shift, you can't quite explain those. You can't quite explain it, but they hit in a different way because there's no clear ending, just distance. There's never ever a real reason why you stop talking to your friends or why you drift apart. It's just like I said, it's distance. I used to think that if a friendship ended, it meant something went wrong, like somebody messed up or somebody failed. But most of the friendships that changed in my 20s didn't explode, they just thinned out. There was a friend I used to talk to every single day. We had inside jokes, routines, plans for the future. I genuinely believed we'd always be close. Then life started moving. Different jobs, different schedules, and different priorities. I moved to a different town. At first, I tried to force it. I'd double text. I'd, overextend, always inviting them every chance I had. I'd show up even when the energy felt off. And eventually, I had to admit something uncomfortable. They never had the time, and realistically, I was trying to make time, but I didn't have the time either. Sometimes you're not growing apart because someone did something wrong. You're growing apart because you're becoming different people. And that's okay. The only thing you can do is be happy for those people and be happy for yourself and hope that these life changes are going to become something great. The realization hurt, but when I thought about the positive side of it, it really also felt freeing. There's actual research that says the average adult friendship lasts around 7 years. When I read that, it weirdly made me feel less alone. Not because it made it easier, but because it made it feel more normal. And obviously, when you think about it, it happens to everybody. Not everybody has perfect friendships and relationships that last forever. Although I'm sure there is out there some. We change more in our 20s than we realize. It's a complicated time, and a lot of my videos are going to be talking about the changes that happen in our 20s. And it's mostly because I'm in my 20s and I'm experiencing them as we speak. So discussing them is not only great for me and getting it off my chest and freeing up my headspace, but it's also great for the viewers that want to discuss it and feel more free because someone else is experiencing the same stuff that they are. Our values shift, our ambitions sharpen, and our tolerance lowers. Our self-respect will also grow. And not every friendship can stretch with those changes. One of the hardest parts for me was realizing the effort has to match. In my early 20s, I thought loyalty meant holding on no matter what. Now I understand loyalty isn't chasing someone who's slowly walking away. I mean, we can always chase a little bit, but you have to come to a point that you realize that you can't chase someone down forever, especially if they're not running towards you and they're running the other direction. There's a difference between fighting for a friendship and fighting alone. If you're fighting for a friendship, you both should be fighting from both sides, right? I also had to confront something about myself. There are friendships I outgrew too. I'm sure there's relationships that I might not even realize where people are reaching out to me and chasing me, but I'm walking the other direction. And that doesn't mean necessarily that I should reflect on that and reach back out to them. It just means that I'm growing away from them and other people are growing away from me. And like I said before, I just have to think positively about it and hope that the people that are growing away from me go on to do great things, and hope that we can all understand. And that's a weird guilt to sit with. Realizing you're the one pulling back, realizing conversations feel forced, realizing you don't connect the same way anymore. But that's just what growth is. And it isn't betrayal. And we can't keep ourselves down about it. And I can't keep myself down about it and beat myself up over it. It just feels like it when you're used to staying the same, when you're comfortable. There's a quote I came across when I was doing some research for this video that stuck with me. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. When I first read that, I rolled my eyes. Now I kind of get it. When you sit and think about it, some friends were there when I needed confidence. Some were there when I needed distractions. And some were there when I needed someone to survive a specific chapter of my life. And when that chapter closed, so did the closeness with that friend. Loneliness shows up here too, because there's a specific kind of loneliness that comes from losing friendships. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's just quiet weekends, fewer notifications, realizing you don't have a default person to call anymore. That silence forces you to ask questions. Who am I without this circle of friends? What do I actually value in relationships and friendships? And what kind of energy do I want around me? In my 20s, I learned that real friendship isn't built on proximity. It's built in mutual effort and emotional safety. Your circle of friends should all be giving off the same kind of energy that you give, so that you can feed off one another. Everybody wins in the end that way. It's someone who celebrates your growth instead of competing with it. Someone who respects your boundaries without taking them personally. Someone who doesn't disappear when your life starts changing. And then you also have to be that person for them. And going back to outgrowing people doesn't make you cold. We all do it. It just means you're growing, you're evolving. But the thing about evolution is it requires honesty. So you have to be honest with yourself. If a friendship constantly drains you, then you have to know when to call it quits. If you feel smaller around certain people, you have to know when to take yourself out of those situations and out of that group. Or if you're afraid to speak openly around certain people, that's information you have to process and deal with. And you have to learn over time when to make the right move with the right people. And this time of your life is really about learning how to read that information instead of ignoring it. Looking back, I don't regret the friendships that faded. They were real in the season they existed, and they helped shape me to the person who I am today. And I wish that I still had contact with some of them, because I'd love to contact and make a phone call or a text. But some of them are so far gone, I wouldn't even know how to get in contact with them. And some of them, I'm sure, would look at their phone with a weird face and a look of disgust, or maybe even be surprised. Not everyone is meant to walk with you your whole life, even though they are your good friends. Some people are part of the foundation, and they're not always part of the future. And that's okay. If you liked the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It helps the channel grow, and it helps me support my dog, Millie. If you have anything that you want to add to the subject, leave a comment down below. I'd love to join in and read some discussions you guys have about the subject. Thanks for watching.